Hey, so you know what? Can we just talk today? Let's talk about relationships. First of all, I gotta tell you that I'm gay. And ever since I came out when I was 18, I've always been honest about who I am and my sexuality. It's not a big deal. I just want to talk about relationships because I've always felt confident in all the other areas of my life. But when it came to relationships, I felt like, what the hell's wrong with me? My first boyfriend was 24, I was 17. That relationship lasted for a year. It was my first ever relationship ever. And then I went on to my next one, which also lasted a year. Then the next one after that lasted a year as well. So after a while, I started to think that relationships last a year. Then as I got older, I found myself always in a relationship, some kind of relationship, whether it's 6 months or 3 years. Like, for example, my first breakup, well, it just sort of ended because I had a feeling that my boyfriend had lost interest in me. He was too chicken to admit that to me. So I wrote him a letter and telling him that if you're no longer interested in me and if this is true, you never have to contact me again. And I never heard from him ever. My second relationship, I broke up with him because he was too emotionally draining. You know, he was always whining and complaining about everything, really. Complaining about his family, his car that he never had to pay for, his job, me, my clothes, my hair, everything. The next guy um, was my first Caucasian boyfriend. My first two were Asians. I thought, okay, maybe the problem lay in the fact that they were Asians, and maybe I'd get along better with the Caucasians, so that's what I did. Dumb reason, really. But this one ended up doing naughty stuff with my friend's boyfriend. That one, I had to end it. That was crazy. And then I had some others in between. Fast forwarding to maybe three relationships before my current one. Let me start with this guy. Long story short, when I told him that I was thinking of breaking up, well, he ended up physically abusing me. He started hitting me every day. Somehow he was able to lock me into his apartment. He had changed the locks and everything. He would come home and he would hit me again. After him, I went out with a guy who was really nice to me in the beginning. We moved in together, and then sometime around the third year, he one day he didn't come home, and I found out that he owed a lot of money to loan sharks and the Yakuza gang people. I started working at two other jobs because I loved him, and so I tried really hard to make money on the side so that I can help him pay off his loans. In the end, I got sick because I was working so hard. I was sleeping about 2 hours a day. I ended up in hospital. I needed him to get some money out of my bank account. That's when I gave him my PIN, my secret, PIN. I blindly trusted him because we were together for so long. Once I got out of the hospital, I realized that my bank account was empty, and he even used my credit cards to um, get cash advances. So my credit cards were maxed out. Then he left. So that was that. And then the relationship after that was with this guy. That one also lasted for 3 years, and he met my mother. They got along. My family loved him. All my friends loved him. I loved his friends. We're all a big happy family. I had a Japanese passport. I still do. But I also had a green card for America because my family lived there, and I still couldn't decide where I wanted to live, where I wanted to make my home. My family lived in America. I felt like, maybe I wanted to live in Japan. I wasn't sure yet. But anyway, after being with him for 2.5 years, no, 3 years. After being with him for 3 years, he said, you know, you should live in Japan with me. I mean, we've been together for 3 years. I know your family. Why don't we go to Hawaii and tell your mother that you'll be living in Japan with me. I'll take care of you and all. I decided that was the best thing to do. He talked to my mother and my family, and he said, don't worry about Shinichi. I said I was going to be living in Japan. That was a big deal to me because it was sort of like choosing my boyfriend over my family. He had to go back to Japan for work. So he went back 1 week earlier than me. The day I got back to Japan, he decided that he wanted to end things. I just kept wishing that I would wake up from a bad dream, but unfortunately, it wasn't a dream and it was reality. And I think that's when I had a nervous breakdown. After I recovered from that one, I vowed never ever to let myself get into a relationship ever because my luck apparently had run out. Then I met this guy who I am currently with. I'm not supremely unhappy or anything. I don't take anything I have in my life for granted. I mean, every day I wake up, I am grateful for life, period. Thanks so much for listening. You're such a good listener. All right, I gotta go now. Bye bye.